Maryam Namazi is a former Muslim. She, of course, left Islam because she doesn't agree with it, and she thinks it's wrong, and she thinks that the literalists are dangerous and repressive. So she started the Ex-Muslims Forum, which is an activist group that fights for human rights, and recently she got hashtag #ExMuslimBecause trending on Twitter, and it exploded. It absolutely blew up on the internet. And I want to give you some of the tweets here. So some people said, ex-Muslim because I was told I was a Muslim, but then I learned that religion is not a gene, and being born to believers doesn't make you one. Ex-Muslim because I know being a woman doesn't make me lesser. I shouldn't have to worship behind men or be segregated from them. Ex-Muslim because no real God should need protection from bloggers, and no real prophet should need protection from cartoons. Ex-Muslim because bacon. What other reason could there possibly be? So some of these are funny, some of these are personal stories, and I want to go ahead and give you a short video here of Maryam introducing the campaign.
Nearly 20,000 people have joined hashtag #ExMuslimBecause. It's a campaign that started less than 24 hours ago. It's about the right of people to leave Islam, to criticize Islam without fear and intimidation. It's about defending a basic right. It's not about anti-Muslim bigotry. It's about the fact that people should be able to do and live as they choose. Join this campaign. Tell us why you've left. It could be because you wanted to eat pork or because you want to have equality as a woman. Join us with your posters, with your video campaigns. We're waiting to hear from you.
Perfectly reasonable comment. So, naturally, what was the response of the establishment? They hated it. Facebook temporarily pulled her page because she, quote, violated community guidelines. I have no clue how that would violate community guidelines. And the BBC had a discussion about how this could be, quote, hateful and offensive and opportunistic, and it's bad timing. Bad timing. Okay, so this really gets under my skin, because I want you to flip the script for a second here. If we had hashtag #ExChristianBecause and people were talking about, you know, how their parents were Pat Robertson fans or they were disowned for being gay, what would the response be? I think everybody across the board would say that the people using the hashtag are probably victims, and they're secular liberals who are standing up for liberalism and fighting back against oppression and intolerance. But you change the religion and all of a sudden it's hateful? No, wait a second, guys. There's nothing about this campaign should make anybody think that they're talking about all Muslims. If somebody says hashtag #ExMuslimBecause and they tell you a personal story about how they came from a Muslim fundamentalist household or a Muslim fundamentalist culture, and they say, I disagree with that, I don't like that for various reasons, how can anybody say, how dare you bring that up? What do you mean, how dare? What do you want them to pretend like Muslim fundamentalists don't exist and they weren't raised in a fundamentalist household? You want them to sit down and shut the fuck up when they came personally from a very repressive background and they didn't like it? How could you tell somebody to be quiet in that situation? You're very clearly blaming the victim if you say, oh, this is offensive and this is hateful. Would it be offensive if somebody said hashtag #ExChristianBecause my parents love Pat Robertson and hated me because I'm gay? Would you say, why are you blaming all Christians with that? Why are you doing that? They're obviously not doing that. You're making that up if that's your response. How can you tell somebody who's just giving their own personal opinions and their personal story, or they're cracking jokes about how they like bacon? How can you call somebody like that offensive? And how could you say that they're intolerant? In reality, it's a case of thou doth protest too much. Because who's really the intolerant ones? Who would argue that hashtag #ExChristiansBecause is bigoted? Who would make that argument? People like Pat Robertson and John Hagee and far right-wingers in America. So by the same logic, wouldn't anybody who's attacking hashtag #ExMuslimBecause, wouldn't they also be right-wingers? No, but that is who would say, oh, come on, this is bigoted against Christians. People like Pat Robertson and John Hagee. Why, you're describing why you left Christianity? And why you're ex-Christian? Oh my God, that's so intolerant. No, only a right-winger would make that argument. It's the same thing for hashtag ex-Muslim because. If you're going to attack the people doing the hashtag, what you're saying is, I'm going to align myself with the fundamentalists who gave people these horrible experiences that they're opening up about. It gets under my skin. And also, there's another angle to this which nobody is talking about. Most ex-Muslims do what? They become, secular, although there are plenty of secular Muslims as well, so perhaps a better word is they're agnostic or they're atheist. So they become that, but then they're getting attacked because they dare to talk about why they made that transition. Why can't they talk about why they made that transition? Is it bigoted for somebody to explain why they, converted to Islam or converted to Christianity? Is it bigoted against atheists when people say, hey, here's why I became Christian? No, right? So why would it be bigoted when somebody says, hey, I'm an atheist and here's why now? So if anything, the only kind of bigotry and intolerance I see out of this campaign is bigotry against atheists and agnostics. Because what's the message? Oh, so you decided to use your mind and become an agnostic or an atheist. Well, you need to sit down and... I said shit. You need to sit down and shut the fuck up, don't you? Be a good little atheist. Don't open your mouth. Don't dare to explain to people why you believe in your position. No, the good atheists know how to www.shh.com and, not engage in conversations or disagreements with anybody. So the real bigotry here is bigotry against non-religious people. Because the point is, if you dare to speak about it in any context, about your irreligiosity, well, it's got to be wrong. So even if you're making jokes about bacon or explaining your personal story about how your fundamentalist family did X, Y, or Z negative thing to you, can't talk about it because talking about atheism or agnosticism in any circumstance is bigoted. Tell me who the real problem is here.